What's up, guys? Hardcore Horror Nerd here. Today is part 2 of 3 of my favorite directors series, and today is all about Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino is, in my opinion, one of the greatest directors of all time, and probably one of the most influential directors of all time as well. He's made films, and these are the ones I'm going to just name the ones I've seen by him, such as Django Unchained, his segment in Grindhouse called Death Proof, Inglorious Bastards. He did a guest directing part on Sin City, Kill Bill 1 and 2, uh, of course, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and Jackie Brown. Those are all the ones I've seen by him. I know that his filmography list is pretty lengthy, but I'm just going to focus on the ones I've seen by him and honestly the ones I have in my collection. I'll start out with Jackie Brown, which I do not have in my collection. I really want to get it because it is probably one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films. Well, any film by Quentin Tarantino is my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. But Jackie Brown was his attempt at blaxploitation, and it was a really good film. Pam Grier, returned as kind of her character from Foxy Brown, which I still have yet to see. I know I have it upstairs and I need to see it. But really good film. Samuel L. Jackson has a great performance in it. Pam Grier, another great performance in it. So all I can say is if you haven't checked out that film, check it out. It's a really, really good Quentin Tarantino film. And if you're a fan of Tarantino films, it's going to be a really good film for you to watch. Next up, I will start with next up I'll go to Inglorious Bastards because it's one I do not have. Inglorious Bastards is Quentin Tarantino's, I guess you could call it a war film. I I don't really know like a certain classification for it, but I guess war film is probably the best classification for it. In this film, you have Brad Pitt and Christoph Waltz and Eli Roth and Tig Tig Schwagler. I think that's how you say his name. Sorry if that just murdered your name. Um, it was narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, and it's an all around badass film. Probably it's not necessarily my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. It's a really really strong, good Quentin Tarantino film. It's not necessarily my favorite, but again, really good film. And I was introduced to Christoph Waltz, and he's turned out to be a phenomenal actor from everything else I've seen by him. An interesting thing is I think Inglorious Bastards was actually written way before he started Kill Bill and all that. And he just kept putting it on the back burner because he never got the ending right or something like that. And he wanted to make sure it was a perfect film. And I think it was a really good film, and Quentin Tarantino does find it his masterpiece because the last line in the entire movie is Brad Pitt says, "I think this is my masterpiece," which is kind of like Quentin Tarantino saying, "Hey, I think this movie is my masterpiece," and it's a really really good film. So check it out if you have not seen it. Next up, I will move to Pulp Fiction. Now, Pulp Fiction is an American, crime film in the '90s. With it has John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, Ving Rhames, Eric Stoltz, Rosanna Arquette, Christopher Walken, Bruce Willis. Amazing, 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 amazing film. I can quote this film so much. Like, I honestly don't watch it anymore without saying almost every line in the movie. That's how many times I've seen it. And I gotta say, my favorite Tarantino scene of all time is the scene in this movie where Samuel L. Jackson's yelling at Brad to say what one more time. Hilarious scene, just awesome, badass film. Uh, Next is Reservoir Dogs. I've actually only seen this movie twice, and I recently watched it last Friday for the second time. And it's a really, 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 again, strong Quentin Tarantino film. Um, this was, I believe, this was his first like major hit, and this one has Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and Michael Madsen, which is all actors he's ended up using in the future. Again, another 90s crime film. Really awesome. And one thing I really do like about this film is if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, well, honestly, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, I I urge you to watch these two films and then sit and think about a bunch of things that you can connect between Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and think about Breaking Bad. There's a lot of connections, like Mr. White and Jesse Pinkman. Um, Also in Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan uses the trunk camera angle a lot. There's actually many things I could really get into it, but that's not the point of the video. Excuse me. Ah, where's my bottle? Okay. Next up, Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 1 is I guess you could say, yeah, it's a kind of an action kung fu thriller movie. And this has, again, Uma Thurman comes back to work with Quentin Tarantino. It also has Lucy Liu. I believe Samuel L. Jackson's in a part of this. There's David Carradine. Um, Vivica A. Fox is in it. And I believe Michael Madsen's in the second one. Really good film. I prefer the first one over Kill Bill Volume 2. But that's because, I don't know, there was just something about the second one that just, it didn't grab my attention as much as the first one. And so moving on would be Kill Bill Volume 2, which I have on VHS. Really, I was happy to score this on VHS. I thought it was pretty cool to get. In this one, you see more of like the backstory of the bride, and I think Uma Thurman helped write part of this, either part of the first one or part of the second one. Basically her story of the bride. So both of them are really cool, like actiony thriller kung fu movies. I prefer like I said, I prefer the first one over the second one, but both are amazing movies altogether. Next up is Django Unchained, and here's my steelbook copy of it. Actually, the artwork on this steelbook is pretty cool. You got your movie poster looking Django, and you got Christoph Waltz, Jamie Foxx, and Leo DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx, and Christoph Waltz. Or, I'm looking at it backwards, sorry about that. And then inside you got your discs, and there's actually a picture of the scene where Christoph Waltz is talking to him about bounty hunting and why you should keep your first bounty and all that. It's an amazing film. It is a spaghetti western, but it's more of just a regular western. Now, if you don't know what spaghetti western means, it's spaghetti westerns were, I think, if I'm correct, film buffs can, correct me on this, I don't care. A spaghetti western was a western filmed in Italy because of budget concerns and all that. Again, Quentin Tarantino, the thing I like about Quentin Tarantino is he doesn't have a specific genre that he makes. I mean, he's made action films, he made crime films, he's made comedies, he's made a western film. Death Proof is a borderline horror exploitation film. And no matter what, you can always find one thing that is good about every Quentin Tarantino movie, among other things. And there's always something to kind of, in a way, connect that, hey, this is a Tarantino movie. He always has, like, his signature things, like in Inglourious Bastards, he has the round table, which he first did in, like, the scene where the camera's going around while people are talking at a table, which is, first time he did that was Reservoir Dogs. And then he also does it in Grindhouse, or Death Proof, sorry. And want to say no, he doesn't do that in Pulp Fiction. Anyway, moving on. And then finally, in my personal collection that I have is his segment is the Grindhouse. It's the double feature one. It's not the single one. Um, actually, this isn't the real cover. I've actually inside is the actual cover. Here, take this off. That's the what the cover really looks like, but I like this version of it more, so I just flipped it over. Grindhouse is straight up in your face action exploitation horror film with Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell gives an amazing performance in it. Love this film. This was honestly one of my first Quentin Tarantino films I've ever seen was Grindhouse. I remember, or his segment Death Proof. Sorry, I remember watching it late at night with my brother, and I would always catch the end of like the entire movie where the three girls were like curb stomping Kurt Russell's face, and it always just captured my attention. I was like, man, I need to see this film. So eventually I bought it, and I actually like it more as a single film than the double feature. Now the double feature way to watch it is really cool because that's how it's meant to be seen. But as a single film, there's a little bit more added to it, and I just really like it like that. So yeah, I want to know what's your favorite Quentin Tarantino film. My favorites are Django Unchained and Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction was because something about that film has always captured me, and Django is just an all-around badass film, in my opinion. So what's yours? And I should have asked this on my Kevin Smith video, but what's your favorite Kevin Smith film as well? You can put that in the comments section. Talk movies with me. I'm happy to do that with you guys. Check out my Instagram page at Hardcore Horror Nerd. Check out Love of Horror on Facebook and Horror Affair on Facebook. Just can't wait to talk to you guys. And next week I will be posting the third and final video, and that one's probably going to be a little bit lengthy. Just a heads up, and it's going to be all about John Carpenter. So I'm really happy to show you guys that. So again, Instagram at Hardcore Horror Nerd, Horror Affair, and Love of Horror on Facebook. Keep supporting horror. Keep supporting movies. Love the movies you love. Hail horror. Peace.